Yo guys, welcome back to another video here at TraderJourney on YouTube. Today I'm going to bring you an update of a particular trade I made with Shopify yesterday, and it came out with a $400 profit, which I was really pleased with. I'm going to talk you through the details and the logic behind the trade and why I entered the trade at the time I did. But just before I get into the details of the video, if you guys haven't checked my Instagram out as yet, it is TraderJourney_official. I upload daily useful information for any new traders and some trading recaps, so be sure to check me out there if you haven't done so already. So without any more delays, let's get straight into this video. So as you can see, Shopify has been making some crazy highs, and it did have an all-time high of around 1285, and that happened on the 22nd. So this Shopify has been doing well for obviously a number of reasons. Coronavirus and people shopping online has caused a surge in the usage of Shopify, so it comes as no surprise we're reaching for all-time highs. But I was clearly looking in this particular strategy for this scalp which I made yesterday. I was looking at supply and demand zones. I combined that with some of my other strategies, which I'll hopefully get into those details as well. So like I said, we reached all-time highs, and I'm expecting the stock to continue going higher, but we do have these very healthy corrections, which you can see from historical price movements. We've always, as we've reached new highs and new all-time highs, we've had these small corrections in the price, and these are pretty much where you can actually profit from this stock, is from the all-time high ranges to reversals and corrections, and supply and demand works very well for that. So you can see that here on the bigger time frame. I've got the demand sort of illustrated here, and I've got some supply zones here, but I'll be going through the exact trade I made, and there was 2 or 3 opportunities you had with this particular stock, which I'll also talk through now. So we're on the 1 hour chart here, guys, and I'm hoping you're liking the new colors that I brought to the charts. A lot of people are complaining about the yellow chart, so I thought I'd switch it up. So hopefully this is a bit clearer for you guys to see on the video. This was a $400 trade. I'll try and put a picture up here now so you can see the actual profits from the trade, but I'm going to go down to the smaller time frame so you guys can get a better understanding for what was happening with this stock. So like I said, with this particular stock, when we reach all-time highs, we have these corrections, and once you've reversed from that correction, we expect to see that stock surge forward again. Granted there's no sort of adverse news that will affect the stock. So with this particular, on the 17th of December, we obviously saw there it reached all-time highs at 1204. We saw a healthy correction back down to an area of demand, which was at 1145. So I'm going to be charting this live, guys, and showing you some of the other areas which I probably haven't charted already, but it will come up in this video. So as you can see, this area here, for me, this is a key area of demand. Now the reason being is we saw this stock, as soon as it hit that particular area and that range, we saw the price surge forward, and it didn't fall through, and it's not fallen through as yet. So for me, this area of demand is still intact, and I will continue to hold this as an hour range of demand. So it broke down, we saw that previous all-time high, broke down to this area of demand, and what did we see? We saw a surge past that area of supply. Now this was a key area. Now you can see the psychology of traders here, because they were potentially waiting. If this was a previous area of supply, which it was at this all-time high range, some traders were waiting for this to reverse and come back down. So this is where risk management comes into play, and why my strategy, I'm so confident in my strategy. Now with this particular trade, if I was going to play this in a level of supply, I would wait for the break down here, potentially the second candle, before we saw a reversal back to the 1 hour area of demand, but we didn't. So for me, these areas are very key for looking for the larger moves. These imbalances in in sellers and buyers is particularly key in these areas, which is why I highlight them with these green and red areas. Now what actually happened then was, on the 21st of December, we saw it break that level of supply, and when you're breaking such a large area of supply, you're expecting a massive upwards movement, and which we did. So we broke that area of supply, which now is an area of demand for me, and it broke all the way, which was a huge run, up to a new all-time high of 1285. Now there were several plays you can obviously have made here, which I didn't particularly trade Shopify in any of these zones, but you can see the strategy working. So as we broke this area of demand, you could have traded this and watched that huge move upwards to the all-time high range. But I was watching the stock as soon as I heard the news that Shopify is riddled with fraudsters and fakes. I was expecting a reversal down to a previous area of demand. Now that news came out on the 22nd of December, just as we hit all-time highs. So I was looking at the stock in the next day and expecting something to happen. I was watching the area of demand. I wanted to play it back to the upside rather than the downside. Just because of the news, you're not sure how far the move is going to be down, and you don't want to get stopped out, and you don't want to get a sudden reversal. So I was constantly waiting for the stock to reach another area of demand. And what was that area of demand? That area of demand was when it broke that previous supply zone, and that area was a huge range actually, but it was ranging from 1204 to 1191, so it was a big area. But I was simply waiting for it to get back to the area of demand. I could have played it to the downside, but I didn't, because I was purely just waiting for the area of demand to play it back to the upside. So what did we have? The news came out, technical analysis reached all-time high, and based on previous technical analysis, whenever we reached all-time highs, we've had a healthy correction. So I simply waited for that to come down, so it was in line with the news and the correction. And it was ranging from this area. It wasn't of any particular interest, because looking at that zone from previous historical levels, nothing exciting has ever happened there. So I was clearly waiting for the biggest area of demand where we saw a huge surge in the price. Now keep in mind that the stock has clearly moved by huge amounts, but the move which I captured wasn't in fact a big move, but I was still yet able to make that $400 return. Now the stock continued to sell off on the 23rd, and I was simply waiting for it to enter this area of demand, which it did. It eventually did, but it took some time. It took the whole of the 23rd trading day, and then my alert hit when it hit this area of demand. So I had an alert set for the price level of 1204. As soon as it hit, my eyes were on the chart, and I was expecting this stock to jump straight back out. Now, unfortunately, the stock entered the area of demand when market was closing, so I was just watching it into the morning, so I wasn't able to enter any trade there because I didn't have the confirmation before it exited the area of demand. It actually exited the area of demand during pre-market and after hours, so I knew as soon as market opened, this is definitely on my radar, because it's exited a huge area. It's exactly reversed at this huge area of demand, and I'm expecting, based on what has happened, the probability of this price surging upwards is quite high, and it did exactly that. So market open. I'm going to go onto a smaller time frame so it can again be a lot clearer for you of when I entered the trade and when I exited. So keep in mind also, guys, I was only in this trade for around 6 minutes. I was clearly scalping the stock, and the expiration of the contract was the 24th, which is when I was trading the stock. So you don't want to be in the stock, you don't want to be in the trade for too long when you're trading same day expiration contracts, because the time decay on the contract will erode most of the value of the contract. So you want to be in and out. So I was there for 6 minutes, which was still too long to my liking, but I was able to maximize profits on the move. So now I'm down onto the 15-minute time frame, so you guys can see as soon as it came out of this area of demand, after hours, pre-market, it was hovering over the level of demand, which was my signal to go long on the stock. And as soon as market opened, what did we see? We saw this huge green bar. Now, a lot of people are wondering then, so what was the exact point of entry? Now, my exact point of entry is I already had some price levels already charted on the graph. Now, you can see as well when you look back at the previous price level, this is still on the 15-minute. I was looking on the 5-minute. I'll go down to the smaller time frames shortly, but you can see that this candle wick hit that exact price point which I had charted at 1215. So I was clearly just waiting there for 1215 to break, and with extra volume. So I was expecting extra volume and that price level to break, and it did exactly that. So price broke 1215 with clear higher than average volume levels is what I look for when we have these breaks. And yeah, volume was clearly well above average, so it broke 1215, entered the trade, and I rode this is on the 15-minute chart, so I rode this stock all the way to, I believe it was roughly around 1236. As soon as it hit that sort of, as soon as it entered this previous area of supply, which I have charted in red here, that's when I started getting nervous, and I thought this is the time to exit the trade. So I mean, it looks small on the graph, but guys, that was a huge move. It was 1215 all the way up to 1220. That's a $5 move, and that's enough for you to make your $400 gains, especially when you're trading same day expiration contracts. Now you'll see I've got obviously a lot of indicators on the charts, but I won't get too much into the details of those, but they assisted me when entering the trade and how to enter the trade. So I did use a combination of other strategies, but supply and demand was the key strategy in this particular stock move. And what you can see is I knew that the stock had previously been ranging in this area of supply and nothing exciting was happening. So I was expecting the same thing to happen, if not break. If there was a good level of volume coming in, I would expect the price level to break above this area of supply, but exactly what I thought would happen, and it started ranging again in that area. Although it does seem to be a bit of a bigger area, so I'll be still watching the stock into the next week, because this ranging area seems to be where sellers and buyers are sort of fighting over the area. So it will be interesting to see if the price breaks this area of supply. I would expect it to reach at least all-time highs again. I'll have some profit targets set on the chart like I'm doing now. I would expect this to be a key price target. And if it was to break down, I would at least expect it to come back to this previous 1 hour demand level. So I mean, guys, if you're just trading these levels, imagine you could have, if you trade to the downside, if you traded this to the downside as this break below here, I mean, you would have got, if you entered at let's say you were very, very conservative with your entry and you wanted a safe entry, and say you just entered here 1215 all the way down to 1204, guys, that's an $11 move. Those moves are huge for options contracts and are enough to make an easy consistent amount of income. So these zones are so key and so important for me when I trade. And likewise, if we look to the future now, and if we see it break above this range, this red range, if it breaks above 1239, I expect the stock to fly. And as this was a healthy correction, you just have to sort of consider all the factors here. The news, is there any more news that comes out that affects the stock? So watch for another break below. If some good news comes out, then if your TA confirms it, then you should expect the stock to surge back to all-time highs. And if you catch that wave 1239 to 1284, it speaks for itself. Profits are huge. And keep in mind as well, guys, lastly, these price movements are in one day. They're not over a course of 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. This is in one day you have seen these price movements. So the amount Shopify is moving, it's enough for options traders to make a consistent income from it, as long as you're focusing on the key areas of trading, which I'm showing you guys, and you're just taking notes along the way. I'm sure if you follow this video, taken notes where you've needed to, you can implement this exact strategy, and I have no doubt that this will work as well, as long as you set the levels clearly, set all your price levels, set your profit targets, and most importantly, you set a stop loss in case the stock moves against your supposed direction of what you're expecting. So I really hope this has helped you understand that trade, and I hope it's given you some value. But it was an exciting trade for me. I was in and out within 6 minutes, and $400 profit, and you can't expect more than that, and you can't be too greedy, especially when it's airing these area of zones, these supply zones. I mean, if I held the stock expecting it to go back to all-time highs, I would be very disappointed, and I would probably have lost money because the time decay on the contract would have eroded any value on the contract. So it's very important that you take profits when you can. Once it's hit a target, once you're happy, once you've hit a percentage target, you take your profits. You always need to know when you're entering a stock and when you're exiting, when you're entering a trade and when you're exiting a trade. Always have that plan ready. So yeah, I mean, I hope this has really helped. And before I end it here, like I said, be sure to follow me on Instagram, which is TraderJourney_official. I'll be uploading stuff there daily to help you guys out. I'll be looking to update you guys every day on new trades, new strategies, and I'll be sure to keep you guys posted. So that's all I wanted to cover today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I shall catch you all on the next one. Take care. Goodbye.